All right, week 9. Let's do it. Post-election power ranking, post-presidential election, post-CFP initial ranking election. I'll call that an election. This was not a good week for Callan's sports teams, so I'm probably going to be doing a fair amount of complaining about my sports teams throughout this whole thing. But let's just jump into power rankings for this week. There was actually a pretty decent amount of movement in my power rankings, but I'll spend some time digging through individual teams and then show those off at the end. I completely 100% forgot to look at mine and Scotty's matchup last week, which I think he had like the high score or one of the high scores last week. I'm like a couple weeks behind on Venmo payments. Yeah, he had a high score, so I still need to send that out. But this week we similarly had, I feel like, really high scores as a league. So I don't know if that's just the NFL offenses getting going or what. But we'll start. Normally I start from the bottom of my screen. I'm going to take it from the top this time. And I'm just going to bitch about my team here for a second. Team is bad. I kind of called it out last week in power rankings that even though my scores had been kind of up there, I felt like my team was kind of fraudulent, and I think that took about 1 week to prove that was true. I'm honestly surprised my team has even done as well as it has, because I was just like thinking through it. My first round pick was Bijan, and he has kind of been better the last 3 or 4 weeks, but before that he was basically fraudulent, right? So that's first round pick. Second round pick was Devontae Adams, who was disappeared for half the season so far anyway, and has struggled up until this week. He did have a good week, but even he got slightly injured, I think, although I don't think it is going to keep him out. But yeah, I missed my second round pick half the season. Third round pick was Mark Andrews. Enough said, right? Like, tight ends in general, and Mark Andrews is supposed to be a good one. My fourth round pick was Mike Evans, injured, right? So yeah, he's out, and he's barely a wide receiver too. I had no fifth round picks. My sixth round pick was a horrifically disappointing CJ Stroud, who just hasn't even. This just hasn't been it. The Texans as a team are just kind of tanking now anyway, but CJ was not even worth the sixth round pick. My best players have been my seventh round running backs, David Montgomery, and then whenever Mostert was healthy, he is decent, I guess. But then obviously Montgomery is probably and he's barely a running back one, but I did get him in the seventh round. So, but yeah, like my whole top half of my draft is basically a bust for the most part. And I still, up until last week, was like top 5 in record and points scored. So, I guess I'm happy about that, but yeah, just like fraudulent team. I don't know. I still have a shot to make playoffs, but 88 is an abysmal score, especially with how other teams are scoring. Crams really, really saved me. Obviously from low score, but like I said, I'm going to be bitching some in this episode. A&M, horrifically disappointing game against South Carolina, right? Blown out by a team we should have beat. Texans really get stomped on by the Jets this week in a game that we should have won. My fantasy team absolutely shits the bed, of course. Only getting second place to Crams for lowest score in the league. And then to top it off too, shout out Buzz Williams losing to UCF in the number 13 Aggie basketball team's opening game of the season. This is not a fun week for me, but hey, it happens. That's sports. You just deal with it and you move on. Then we go to Carl's team. Continues to get the scheduling, like he did this more early in the season, but gets a nice scheduling matchup with my shitty team from this week, where he just takes advantage, right? That's what it takes to win. He goes to eight wins on the season. His team is just solid. Tyrone Tracy owns the backfield now in New York. James Conner's just Mr. Consistent. Jamar Chase has been excellent. Travis Kelce is looks like he's back to normal. The CD pick, this one is scary because of the Dak injury. So we're going to see how that affects him. But I feel like the rest of his team has kind of turned it on enough at this point between Jaden, Tyrone Tracy, James Conner, Jamar Chase, Kelce. Like, I feel like Carl's team can make up for any dip in production that CD might have with the Dak injury. And as long as, I think Dak has a hamstring right now, as long as Dak is back before fantasy playoffs, which if he's only out for, I don't even know if he's officially on IR yet, but if he is, if they put him on IR, basically he just needs to be back before the fantasy playoffs. And I really don't think it's going to hurt Carl too bad. But, I mean, you don't love to see that if you're Carl. Yeah, and he's got some dudes, I guess, on the bench here still. So, overall, still, like, yeah, not a world-beating week for Carl here, but he gets 8 wins. I'm almost on the verge of just saying he's a lock for fantasy playoffs, just based on that record alone, right? He only has to be really, like, top 5 in record realistically, because whoever takes the number 2 seed is probably going to have a pretty decent record also. And they'll get in based on points technically, whoever the 2 seed is. Good job to Carl on that one, setting himself up for a lot of success. We'll just go down the list here. Next we have Tron's team. Another solid score, I think, for the second week in a row from Tron. But he does still end up at 4 wins. He doesn't have the points, but he's still kind of keeping himself in the game with the 4 wins. Loses his quarterback. And yeah, even these 2 guys have been excellent for him, and they are they had down weeks, and he still had a solid score. So yeah, Zay Flowers is great. Bowers is great. Quentin Johnson with the big game. Yeah, I mean, maybe if Tron even gets C-Mac back, that could be great too for him. Could be. It will be. Especially going down the stretch. Tron is probably behind enough points-wise where he's not going to get in based on that. But again, just being 4 and 5, he has a very, very legitimate shot to make the playoffs. So, just keep trying to steal wins and then hope that C-Mac can contribute whenever he gets back. And, I don't think it's likely, but it's very possible Tron makes the playoffs. Carlo's team, same song, different verse. All excellent, all great. I kind of called out last week losing Diggs would hurt him, and I guess getting 12 out of Judy makes that not as painful. But yeah, decent scores all around really for Carlo's team. He really doesn't need any help. Did Deontay Johnson not play? He only played 30% of the snaps, no targets. Went out without a target. Yeah, I mean, Tron thought this would be almost a plus to him, and he is wrong so far. Again, doesn't really matter, to be honest, with how good his team is. He'll have Kittle coming back. His worst player was Zach Ertz, and he's about to get back Kittle. So I expect another 130-point game from Carlo next week and a 10-0. But yeah, great game. Then we'll go with Mark. Mark is going to make a push here. He had a down first half of the season, and now he's putting up some decent enough scores. He's lucky to get the win this week. Just sticking with Caleb. Dobbins has one of these types of games. Not every week, but, not surprising. Mixon is really the only competent player on the Texans offense right now. Very sad. Tyreek gets a little bump back. We're still waiting for the Tua bump to fully hit, but this is better than he had with whoever the hell the Dolphins ran out there before. Amon-Ra gets a touchdown. I was watching part of that game, coming off the disappointing game last week. DJ Moore, didn't he get hurt though? I remember there was that play where he walked off the field in the middle of the play that I saw posted to Twitter, which was fucking wild. The dude is still on the field constantly, but he's just Yeah, not delivering. And then Olave, who knows how long this guy's going to be out. Um, Left the game on a stretcher due to a concussion. I can't see him at least playing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they hold him out till after the bye week, which would be week 13. If he, we'll see. But assuming he comes back relatively fine, he'll at least be available for fantasy playoffs, I guess. And he's got a solid bench, too. I mean, these guys are all putting up numbers. Yeah, Mark's team started off slow, right? High preseason expectations, slow start to the year, but 5 wins, very much in play. I can't remember. We'll look at point totals. I added those to the power rankings just so we can get an idea of who might steal the last spot in the playoffs. But I don't think his points are especially high, but setting yourself up with 5 wins and having this sort of depth at least puts you in a good spot to make a playoff push. K-Man, kind of in the same boat as Trond. Y'all have been kind of like locked at the hip for most of the power rankings, and that kind of continued this week, where your teams aren't really scoring that high, but y'all have enough wins somehow to kind of keep yourselves in the running. Scrolling through here, Bucky Irving, who even really cares at this point. The Sutton trade, already looking good for you. K. Dotton, this is, again, called it out last week. Great pickup. He's going to continue to be good, I think. Puka, was this his second game back? Oh, yeah, he didn't play that much. Oh, he got ejected. Linebacker Tyrell Dodson, Texas A&M legend. Yeah, he'll be fine though. But yeah, that's disappointing. Man, that could have won you your week too, and you really need the wins. So Puka kind of fucked you right there, to be honest. And a Ray Davis touchdown. Yeah, man, crazy. Another thing I'll call out here, Bo Nix. What is he? Quarterback 8 now? It is bananas to me. Like, we all kind of know that rushing is really valuable for quarterbacks in fantasy. It is like, I don't know, I don't even know if we can overstate how important rushing is, because that is why Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback. His passing numbers are not amazing by any means. He's got, 8 touchdowns on the year throwing, but he's got 4 rushing. Like, if we go look at the stats of who the top quarterbacks are for the season. I'm just going to do it in sleeper here. The rushing is so OP compared to passing that you need to have a I don't even know, a elite season passing the ball to even approach a kind of mid-tier quarterback who kind of fits that rushing mold. If we look at these, Lamar's at the top because he's doing both. Okay, that's understandable. But then if you look at the difference between Joe Burrow or Mayfield and Jaden Daniels, they are almost the same fantasy points wise. But you have to have 11 more passing touchdowns to counteract basically 3 additional rushing touchdowns. You have to triple the output of rushing production in terms of passing production just to remain equal. You have to be hitting 3+ touchdowns a game, 250+ yards a game to equal a guy who's going to score who's going to run for 50 yards a game and a touchdown every couple of games. It just seems like such an outrageous disparity to me. And that might just be more of a commentary on the NFL and, is rushing really as valuable as fantasy makes it? But I mean, it really is at that level where if you don't have a running quarterback, they have to be throwing at 5,000 yard pace, right, over the course of the season. And that's how Baker and Joe are here. But everybody else up here, Kyler, Bo Nix, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, like these are all just the running quarterbacks, like the quarterbacks who run the most, right? And then as you go down, you get the passing heavy guys, Lawrence, Purdy, Cousins, Rodgers who doesn't run, CJ who doesn't run, Mahomes who doesn't run, at least not with the same level as those top guys. Yeah, it's just like put that on your draft sheet for next year. I'm realizing the value, even with our little bump we give for number of completions, right? 0.1 per completion. It's not even close. It's like not even. Again, it's not saying it's impossible to have a pass heavy quarterback that does well. It's just that if you're going to take a pass heavy quarterback, they have to be like the top number 1 or number 2 pass heavy quarterbacks to even compete with like an average, quote unquote, sort of like rushing fantasy relevant quarterback. Because the rushing fantasy relevant quarterbacks now include people like Bo Nix, right? Who hasn't really proven himself to be an elite passer, but, he's getting so many touches and so many carries as a runner that's what fantasy wants. So anyway, I just think that's crazy to watch Bo Nix do that. Okay, so that was Mark and K-Man. Let's look at Caleb and Chris. Yeah, Caleb, he does have one of those elite passers. So Burrow with the monster 5 TDs. Yeah, Breece Hall. The Texans actually bottled him up pretty decently. Our offense just couldn't score. Kyron, dude, I need some of these 22 for 69 guys on my team. I need these like 3.5 yard a carry, 20 plus carries a game because Bijan just is not doing it for me, man. Josh Downs. Yeah, not a great game by Flacco, but Downs is going to be more involved, which is I'm sure is going to be good for Caleb. Ramondre with a couple touchdowns. Love to see it. Yeah, I mean Caleb's team continues to be fine, right? They're solid. I think these receivers are good enough to keep putting up points. He really needs kind of these running backs to just keep scoring points. Like Caleb's not going to get in based on his record at this point. It's just, I mean, I don't know if it's mathematically impossible, but I just feel like in my gut it feels very unlikely. But keep posting 110 plus point games and you at least give yourself a shot. Crams, you don't have a shot. Yeah. It is what it is. I feel like I say that every week. It is what it is. Oh, you got Zach Moss, who is already not doing well, put on IR. Man, it's rough out here. So, I don't know. All I can say is trade for a keeper if you can, man. That's literally the only advice I can give is take Drake London and try to flip him onto a successful team for a keeper or something. Yeah, because this sucks. There's no nice way to say it. It just sucks. It's not fun. Okay, and then we got Logan's team, the other elite passer of the group. The top 2 only good passers. And then, yeah, Derrick Henry. If Lamar doesn't win, D. Henney probably will the MVP this year. I don't know the last time the number 1 and number 2 MVP finishers were on the same NFL team. That would be like an interesting stat to see. Pittman, yeah, that sucks. Junior, yeah. I mean, D-Hop did get the 2 tutties. I saw that. That was pretty cool. I'm glad he's on a team that's going to actually throw him the ball and be productive on offense. Yeah, and still some dudes, Tyler Lockett, Jamison Williams sitting on the bench. So, yeah, I mean, Logan's team was unfortunate that they didn't win this week. They went up against, is this a new record-setting performance? It might be. But, yeah, I mean, 4 wins, solid scores, still going to be a good shot in the power rankings. It is unfortunate that you kind of fell a game behind, though. But Travis's team kind of had an outrageous week again. Again, the rushing touchdowns are just It's so fucking overpowered. 13 carries. Like 13 carries, that's a good running back game. 13 for 67 and a touchdown. That's a running back stat line. And then he gets all the passing on. Like it's unreal. Kamara, fantastic. I think Kamara is going to actually, I think this is going to stick the rest of the year because of how depleted the New Orleans offense is, especially at wide receiver. So they already lost Rashid Shaheed, and then they just lost Olave. Really, it's just like Taysom and Kamara. And I feel like seeing this where he's got 29 carries and 9 targets. I mean, fucking 40 goddamn opportunities to touch the ball. That's more times than the quarterback touch. Like, it's unbelievable. And I don't think it's going to change. So I think that's, I don't know if it'll be 25 every game, but this is not like even if he only gets 30 touches a game, like it's still going to be crazy. So, I think huge boost to Travis this week based on that score. Chase Brown, see, these 30 touch games, man, it's crazy. He goes off. Yeah, dude, it's just wild. This is a fantastic week. You really could not ask for more if you're Travis. Even the Texans with their doo-doo offense, Tank Dell got a bunch of catches. No touchdown, unfortunately, which the Texans could have used. But Tank Dell has a great week. I mean, it's with a score in the 160s, everyone had a great week. It almost feels stupid to say it. A.J. Brown had a bad week. Only 2 for 36. How did Dowdle get 18? The crazy touchdown. He had like laying on his back in the end zone. I remember seeing that highlight. Yeah, that was an absolute doo-doo ass game for Dallas, but Dowdle gets a touchdown. The Chargers shit on Cleveland. And he's also going to get Nico back. And Amari is, was he just injured this week, I guess? Yeah, I think he was just injured. So he's got like dudes on his bench, dudes on the starting lineup delivering. I mean, Travis's team is feeling very dangerous these days. So good job on that one, my guy. And then our last matchup before we get to rankings was Scotty unfortunately losing to John, who's just decided to be good now, ? I still don't really trust your running backs, John, but Josh Allen being a running quarterback, all the things I just said apply. Cooper Kupp coming back has obviously been a huge help. Trey McBride being good. I think JSN had the number 1 fantasy finish this week among wide receivers. Crazy good game. 7 for 180 and 2 touches. That's fantastic. Marvin Harrison. I'm kind of surprised to see he's even a wide receiver too. I feel like I haven't read his name that much this year, but looks like he just has a few games where he's really popping off. Overall, great game by John, but again, his record isn't very good. His points aren't very good. It would kind of take a miracle for John to even have a chance to make the playoffs. But I mean, trying to at least win some money back before the end of the year. Keep at it, man. And then Scotty's team, kind of fell off a little bit again this week. Kyler's struggling, man. Last couple games haven't been bad. Again, because of these rushing touchdowns. Like, my God. Like, see, look how overpowered. So this is 2 games ago. 14 completions, under 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. Right? That is a not good passing line. But he scored 21 points, which is that's a very good quarterback score. And how did he get there? 64-yard rushing and a touchdown. Like, it can take a totally average quarterback, not even like a below average quarterback performance, and turn it into a great game if you can score 50 yards and a touchdown. And that's just, like, you got to have it. So, I mean, that's a sucky score from him this week, but the fact that he can even has a chance to do it is going to keep Scotty's team rolling. So, Gibbs, good game. He had some dirty runs for the Lions this week. Kareem Hunt, again, these 27 for 100 yards and a touchdown. Like, the Chiefs are just feeding this man. Justin Jefferson is fantastic as always. Yeah, Ken Walker. So Devon Achane has proven to be the biggest, at least initial beneficiary of Tua coming back-to-back 20-point games. Now this is the type of efficiency I want right here, right? Give me 12 carries for over 5, 10 carries for almost 100. This is crazy. This man is so fucking good at football. My God. And then, yeah, I mean, decent bench, I guess. Nothing really to write home about, but I mean, solid score. If Kyler would have even just had like a decent game, he would have won, right? He should have tried getting one of those rushing touchdowns this game, and that would have put you over the edge probably and beaten John. But it didn't happen. Too bad, but still very, very solid team. Now let's get into the power rankings. So here they are for this week. I'll just run through them and give some kind of reasoning here. So one was Andrew. Again, obviously, was he? Yeah, again, second highest. Dropped down to third highest score last week, back to second highest this week. Very impressive to be so consistently second place. But 9-0. Carl gets the jump on Scotty. Scotty's team, I don't know, the rosters at this point might be pretty even. I feel like Carl's team has really turned it on lately. Where are they? So not great this. I guess only last week was good. Not great this week. Yeah, he went 2-9 this week, and he played me, so he got the win. Yeah, I mean, he kept it up with it. I feel like Carl's team isn't bad. Really, the reason that he jumped Scotty wasn't roster, or obviously the points are lower. It's the number of wins he has, and then specifically the number of wins he has compared to the rest of the field. So we've got a few dudes with 5 wins, but nobody even has 6. And we've only got, 4 weeks left in the season, and he's now 3 games up on 3 different guys. So he might not finish second place in terms of wins. In terms of like the rankings, right? But just having a 3-game lead at this stage in the season is, again, from a power rankings perspective, what are the odds that you're going to make the playoffs and push for a championship? And I feel like Carl is far enough ahead now where basically it's like, compared to Scotty, I feel like Scotty has more of a chance of falling out of contention than Carl does. That's basically the reasoning for me. Not that Carl's team is better than Scotty's, but just, again, in terms of making the playoffs, making a shot, getting a run at a championship, I feel like Carl's team is very well positioned. Scotty bumps down to third. Just not the greatest game from him. He got the loss. And again, just the 5 wins. It's more about just Carl, again, getting another win and kind of jumping up 1 spot. So Scotty bumps down 1. Travis's team is right there. I could even make a case for them jumping Scotty's team at this point. They have the same number of wins. Scotty barely leads in points, and he does have a few more cumulative wins here, but those were really stacked up earlier in the year. Travis's team just posted a monster score. I could absolutely debate swapping these 2 guys around. But yeah, one of them is going to, I guess technically Scotty's team is second in points for, so they would get the number 2 seed, even regardless of Carl's record. But if Travis's team keeps performing at this level, is very, it's a very, very tiny gap to overcome over the next 4 weeks. So Travis's team gets a nice bump there. Logan's team, he took an L this week, so he is going to move back 1. Really, it's more just about Travis, jumping more than anything. But still a decent week from Logan, 120 points. Unfortunate he didn't get the win, but it's just the way that it is. 4th total in points. Decent winning, league wins here. But yeah, just keep at it, and there's a good shot Logan makes the playoffs. Mark's team, so he's sneaking up from behind on everybody. the wins weren't there, the points weren't, or the cumulative wins weren't there, the points weren't there. Still not really a threat unless he just really goes off over the last month to catch up with some of these bigger point dudes. But the 5 wins puts him, right there to take one of the standing spots, right? So he'll have to keep delivering at that level. I know he's got, not just me, but also Trond and Matt, right there, kind of, and even Logan, I guess, kind of trying to get one of those spots from him. And his team has, so far this year hasn't been that great up until recently. But for now, 5 wins is very much enough to put you in the top half, and that means a playoff spot. Then we had Caleb, who also had a decent week. Very unfortunate, he only has the 3 wins, but he does have the points, so he is a little farther away from kind of the, whatever the second point spot is going to be, depending on kind of how these records shake out. But he's got almost 1,000. He could very much earn the 6th place spot, which would be the second spot earned on points. So really, I think the getting in on wins is out of the question now for Caleb, but he is definitely in the mix in terms of these. My team is kind of wrapping up sort of where this tier is. Just a terrible week. I don't see my team drastically improving over the next month. Maybe I get Mike Evans back. I need dudes to go off, right? I need Bijan to turn into like what I wanted him to be, and he hasn't been all year. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think, Stroud had a really good last month of the season last year, but I feel like that's just delusional thinking to think that that's going to happen again. I just don't think I have the guys this year, unfortunately. It was a strong start, but I'm not out of it yet. We're going to keep fighting, but definitely took a hit this week to my team. Next we have Trond and K-Man. Neither of these teams are getting in on points, but they both have 4 wins, so they get to kind of hang out down here. Again, you're competing with the Logans and the Scotties and the Travises and the Marks and the Callens. Like, you just need lucky schedules. That's how y'all are going to get in. Your teams aren't going to be good enough based on points. You're just going to have to hope you get lucky matchups, basically. But that's better than being completely out of the playoffs, which I feel like is John. He's had 2 decent weeks, I think, back to back, but it's just like too little too late, I think, for John. He doesn't have the wins to even crawl back up to reach a win spot, and he's so far behind in points that it's just probably not in the cards. But again, you can maybe win some money back at least if you can keep posting decent scores. And then Chris is going to be last, unfortunately. Still winless, very sad. Sorry, bud. Keep fighting, maybe ruin a season, get some, maybe, a fluky high win, $20, $25. And like I said, go trade for a freaking keeper, man. You gotta make this season worth something. So, this is Power Rankings for this week. We'll see what happens in week 10. I am very sad, but you gotta keep fighting. So we'll see how it goes. Later, boys.